like it's gonna pop it up once it stops loading, and then you can X out of it and do what you need to do.
Okay. And how do I make sure it turns off?
You just have to end the Zoom. That's it. So that's good, and you can just exit out of that tab now. You're going live.
Okay.
And then, yeah,
I
you
can.
just end the Zoom and it ends.
Okay, got it. So I will do this and then back to my slideshow. Boom. Cool
I
stuff.
think your camera was on. Do you need your camera?
The camera on this camera or that
Okay.
camera?
So we have a big one and that one. I don't know if you wanted them to see you or not. It doesn't matter.
I would probably, yeah, I would say yes. Here we go. How do I make it not this one?
Hold exit or escape. Hold escape. So I don't see the meaning controls.
Hold on.
Yeah, just do that. So the little arrow up by the video camera.
Pick a different camera.
Wait, the other one.
I'm trying to get.
We go.
Yes.
This
do
one.
the second one. Mhm. And then
Boom.
that should be.
Oh, that's unflattering, but okay, great,
I know,
awesome.
that's always a jump scare.
Perfect.
You might. That I always give everybody.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you, ma'am. I will, thank you.
Bye. Have
Okay,
fun.
thanks, bye.
No, because you go to it's got to use and the more I start importing more stuff in there, it's like everything. It's just right there, like a picture. So like, oh, they're right in there. Like it's my things. I don't know what to do. I got like a couple I just told you like a bigger color. Did you wait? You waited. Okay. That took me a while. So that's actually cool. Now that you said you're doing it. That's one big success. You know, it was so funny because my husband, he would tell me, and he did, and we were doing it, and then we didn't realize that it was a video. I said, does this gonna work? He's like, okay, just email it to me. So when I did, and he put it out there, it was like, at first, you can see part of it, but it was, I'm like, okay, you need to fix that. So we had to fix it out, then he had to do whatever he did to it to be able to fix it. I said, just then I could just turn around and say, it's not so bad.
That's how it took me to it. Started at a gun for an hour. I put it away. I'm like, I did this anymore.
Like,
Stick with bread.
I feel like
Renee was here. I think that's her. She's having me.
I think that's I don't need to say this.
It doesn't really matter.
But I mean, you're already using cool stuff.
I love you so much. I love that.
Like,
This is my, that's how. You know.
oh, no, yeah.
Well, Transformation Realty is the name of. Yeah.
I love it.
So. This guy, he's on a bicycle on this stuff.
No, he's not.
Yes, ma'am, look at it.
Oh,
That is brave. Talk about brave right there. That's what it looks like.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah, you know, like boot track on, oh, geez.
I was just gonna put these, because I thought, well, if I jump out, it's hard, I don't gotta worry about stepping.
I was thinking something up there now. Say this, I'll probably give you a side.
See, I can't do the rest of anything over there. It's I just can't. Yeah. That's how it's always been in my house. Like I say, it's like, just keep seeing. Well, I like that. Except this morning, because I was in the hospital, she couldn't tell me. I feel like, it's fine, I can't reach out and she's communicating, and she communicated before to leave her. But that, no, really, but so there's not there. She said, oh, you're ready. Like, on the big phone. That's where you get started about freedom. My daughter, lived for years. Her street, it's like up the hill and you're little so strange, but I know it's the best. And I didn't know where his truck was. I think that's where I let his truck park somewhere, and then he got out and started walking out. Yeah, so like, I mean, it's scary. When I was over there, one at four, and then I was surprised. That night that I was talking about the village, and we're. If you spend this later on. We have another that I'm trying to switch that he does that. Believe me, I've had an office facility. No, people have had out. The land, which is a lot of, I used to. I talked to Jesse a little bit. And I know. I got a few hundred dollars. I know. The sign. The height is over back here. This was. That's right. Really tall. I would have to my place here. I just. I can't imagine that. It's. It's a friend of mine that was really saying that the time I used to buy that from that one and all the box. This one, yeah, it's like, I mean, I was traveling like. Yeah. If no one had done YouTube, just once. That's what one saw kind of first things. That was shot. He said. Locate there, there's some coffee, we're gonna get started. And it's live stream. Kelly is on well, yep.
I'm gonna turn my mic on. All right. We are gonna get started here, guys. Thanks so much for making time to be here this morning. We're gonna talk a little bit about the home buying process. We have some partners here from lending as well as title, and they are going to talk to you about their processes as well. Okay, so this is your path to your first home. Of course, living here in Lexington, we are very lucky that we have easy access to all of the surrounding areas. So understand that our realtors can service any county in the state of Kentucky. So just because you may not be looking to purchase a home here in Lexington, that doesn't mean that we cannot help you. Okay. So you've already taken the first step on the home ownership journey because you're interested in buying a home. And that really is the first step, is saying, hey, I think this is a thing I want to do. It can be overwhelming and it can be scary when this is your first time, and yet when you have the right professionals with you along the way, we can guide, we can talk you off ledges. We can help you, and we can also point you into the direction of other professionals that can help if something were to arise. Okay, so you want to make sure you've got the right people with you. So here's some things we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about fears versus facts about buying a home. We're going to talk about the 10 simple steps to home ownership, info on mortgage and title, and that's, like I said, why we've got our partners here with us. And then we're going to talk about what your next steps are. So, fears versus facts of buying a home. I'm sure everyone has heard some harebrained things about what it takes to purchase a home. But first and foremost, the fear is I can't afford to buy a home right now. Well, I want you to know that that's sometimes is the case and generally not always. Okay. So we always want to make sure that we're having the right conversations with the right professionals to make that determination or not. The fear, I don't have enough money for a down payment. Well, there are a variety of down payment options that are available to you based on the loan type. And Mr. David here is going to talk to you about that in a little bit. Okay. Another fear is I should wait until the market gets better. If we know anything about the real estate market, we know that it runs in cycles and it goes up and down. But one of the main things you should know about real estate is that it is an excellent long-term investment, regardless of when you choose to purchase. As long as you're planning to hold on to your house for a while, the equity that you build in that property, and we're going to talk about what equity is, but the equity you build in that property is really the nest egg that you need to build generational wealth. Okay. Another fear is I can't afford to buy a home because my credit isn't good. Well, what your definition of credit isn't good might not be the same as what a lender's is. Okay. So there are lending options for different credit scores. And once again, David's going to talk to you about that too. Another fear is I can't afford to buy my dream home. Guys, guess what? I can't afford to buy my dream home either. Okay. I mean, like living on a cliff in Malibu. Okay. So guess what? We should always start with what we can afford now, because once again, we're going to build that equity, and that's how we help our money to work for us in the long run. Okay. Number 6, fear. The fear is I should wait until I'm certain about my domestic future. Like, am I going to get married? Am I going to have kids? Am I going to, honestly, you do not have to wait until you are married, partnered, or ready to have children to buy a home. In fact, the number one group of people that are purchasing homes, according to the National Association of Realtors, is single women. I know, right, ladies? All right, so please know that the old mindset of you needed to be partnered up to do this thing is not the case anymore. Okay. Another fear is buying a home seems way too complicated. Well, no one would ever tell you that buying a home is easy. You know that. All right. It is complicated. And because it's complicated is why we make our profession trying to make it easier for you and streamline your process. And number 8 is the fear is I should pay off my student loan debt before buying a home. Student loan debt doesn't prevent you from buying. It's like, no, it doesn't. Get that out of your brain, right? It doesn't. It doesn't. So there's lots of lending options for you, regardless of what your debt looks like at this point. Okay. So here are your 10 easy steps to home ownership. First and foremost, the most important one was deciding to buy, and that's why you're here today. Okay. The second step is finding your agent. So hopefully, if you're in this room today, you have found an agent and you're ready to work with that person and head down this path. Okay. If for some reason you have not found an agent and you are watching this on our live stream or wherever it may be, please understand that we have a plethora of agents here with all different backgrounds, and whether they be male, female, all kinds of different demographics, we'll find an agent you're comfortable with to help you through this process. Okay. The next step is to secure your financing, and once again, you'll need a really great lender partner to help you do that. And I do say lender partner because they are a partner in this process and making sure that it goes smoothly. We'll take some time to identify your criteria, and that is through what we call a buyer consultation. The buyer consultation is where we learn more about you, we learn about what your needs are, and we learn about what your wants are, and we try to match you to that perfect home. Okay? Then we're going to take you out and try to find that perfect home. Okay? So this is where we drive around and we go in houses and we try to see what the perfect house is for you. And you might think that you're a very logical person when it comes to purchasing. And what I think you're probably going to find is that you're going to think with your gut a lot more when you walk in that house than what you anticipated you were. Okay. And that is once again what your realtor is there for. It's to help you focus on some facts and not just how much you fall in love with that. Okay. Now, if you find that perfect house you fall in love with, we're going to make an offer on the property. Now, that doesn't mean you've bought the house. It simply means we say, this is how much we're willing to pay for this house. Now, it doesn't mean they'll accept that offer, whoever is selling it. But they may counter your offer. And that is when we are going to go into a negotiating period. Another reason why it's important to have a strong realtor on your side. The next step is performing your due diligence. So this is where you have inspections done on the property. You're going to have title searches done on the property. There's going to be appraisals done on the property and sometimes surveys done on the property. But that's so you know what you're getting and what you're paying for. Okay? Once again, another reason to have a strong realtor with you to help point you in the right direction of all of those right service professionals. Okay, and then everything goes great, and we make it to a closing table. When we make it to a closing table, a lot of people say, okay, great, well then I'm done with this process, right? Oh goodness, that is not how this goes. In fact, now it's time for you to move in and protect your investment. And we're going to talk to you today a little bit about what it means to protect that investment. And now you get to also enjoy the service of a realtor for your lifetime. Yes, when you hire a realtor, you hire us for the long haul, okay? So understand that we're there to be those go-to people for things like service professionals or help understanding how much equity you've built in your property throughout the lifetime that you own that property. Okay? All right, so let's dive into deciding to buy. Home ownership lies the foundation for a life of financial security and personal choice. Statistically speaking, we know that people that own homes have 70% more wealth than people who don't. Guys, that's just the facts, okay? So if you're on the fence about whether or not you should buy, it sets you up for success in a lot of ways, but more than anything, it's for that financial security. So if you're looking at it short term and you're going, oh my goodness, that's a lot of money up front, I want you to think about the big picture in the long term. So let's understand what equity is in your property. So you go to purchase a house, okay? You're going to put a down payment down on the house, right? And your lender, based on the type of loan that you get, that's going to be a different amount for each person that's required, right? And on closing day, that is when the equity in your home begins to start to accrue. Now, the more money you put down on the home, the more equity you start with, right? As we begin paying it off, we begin accruing that equity. That equity is the money that we've paid off on the house. It's the difference between what we've paid and what the home is valued at. Okay. So now it opens up your opportunities for things like home equity lines of credit. It gives you money for you to be able to utilize to make changes to the home or to invest in other ways. So understand that equity can be used in so many different ways. You can refinance your house and get some of that money back that you've already paid in. Those are all options to you in the future. And at about year 22, your home is half paid off. Now you're probably going, year 22, how is it half paid off at year 22 when this is a 30-year loan? And that's because the bulk of what you're paying is interest on a property. Not a lot of it really truly goes to the principal of it. Now, can we pay it off quicker? Sure can. You can choose to make extra payments on your home. And when you do that, make sure that you direct your financial institution to put that towards the principal on the home, not towards the interest. When you make that extra payment. And when you do that, that number goes down drastically. Okay. So you can actually pay off your home up like 7 years earlier by simply making one extra payment. Okay. Step 2, you're gonna find your perfect agent. So when you're hiring an agent, when you hire a buyer's agent, a KW agent is going to educate you about the market. It's not enough to just go out and buy the home that you fall in love with. I wish it was. Wouldn't that be great? We have to make sure that we're helping you make a really great financial decision. So your agent is going to sit down with you and they're going to talk to you about what the prices are in the neighborhoods that you're looking at. What a good prices to offer on homes in that neighborhood. How much equity is accruing in those neighborhoods because how many people have lived there long term, right? What's the turnover rate look like? How many renters live in your neighborhood? Because all of those things affect the value of your property. Like I said, we are going to analyze your needs and wants. Okay, and needs and wants are different things, right? You may need a 3-bedroom house, but you may want a 4-bedroom if you're wanting to have a home gym or a place where you can play video games and not be bothered, right? So know that we're going to take all of those things into account before we start to show you properties. The next step, though, is to match you to homes that fit your criteria. So as your trusted real estate professional, we are going to sit down and say to you, based on the things that you're looking at, that we can see that you're looking at, and the things you told us you want, here are the homes we think are the best match. Now, you may not think they are the best match, and that's okay. But we'll come to conclusions of what we should be looking at before we go out to view those properties. In a perfect world, we're really only going to show you about 3 to 5 properties. In a perfect world. But we don't live in a perfect world. So we may have to look at a few more than that before we get it right. Okay. We are going to coordinate the work of other professionals. Once again, as your realtor, I like to say that we're kind of like a project manager. Okay. So our job is to work hand in hand with your lender, with your title professionals, and to make sure that we've streamlined the process as much as possible. Okay. So understand that at a certain point, you may have some financial documents that are due to your lender, and I might call you about them, or your lender or your realtor partner might call you about them and say, hey, you got that stuff in to David that he asked for? Okay, understand it's because we are in tune with what's happening in every step of this process. Okay. We are going to negotiate on your behalf. Okay. We're going to negotiate on your behalf more than anything because we have an ethical responsibility to do what is right to you. As members of the National Association of Realtors, we adhere to what's called a code of ethics. And part of that code of ethics is making sure we're helping you get the best deal possible. Okay. So we're going to go out there and we are going to negotiate on your behalf and we're going to solve any problems that arise. Now, am I going to promise you that your realtor is going to have the solution to every problem? Absolutely not. Okay. But they will be the source of the solution. They will find the person that has the solution for you. Okay. So it's really important that you do have a good line of communication with your realtor and that you're open and honest with them throughout the process. When you find that perfect realtor that you want to work with, you're going to sign with them what's called a buyer's representation agreement, okay? A buyer agency agreement. People call them different things in different places, okay? But essentially, it sets a mutual expectations in writing. Your realtor is going to say in writing exactly what they're going to do for you for the commission that they're owed. Okay? And it'll also outline what the expectations are for you to do in order to make this thing go smoothly. Okay? It commits your agent to finding the perfect home for you. So if you don't have a buyer representation or a buyer agency agreement with a realtor, please understand that they're under no obligation, ethically or legally, to help you find that perfect home. And yet when they sign that agreement, that sets that in stone. And they're gonna work their tail off for you. Okay? It also confirms exclusivity between the buyer and the agent. So essentially it says that you as the buyer agree to only work with that realtor as your agent. And the agent says, I agree to do everything in my power to represent your best interest and no other parties. Does all of that make sense? So step 3, you're going to secure pre-approved financing. So pre-approval is different than a pre-qualification, and David's going to jump into that in a second. But essentially, there are 7 steps to financing your home, and that's establishing your budget. And once again, your lender partner is going to help you do that. And you're going to then choose the right lender partner for you. You're going to apply for a loan and get approved. They're going to help you find the right loan type to do that. Okay. And then you're going to decide amongst your mortgage options. And you're going to submit an accepted purchase contract to the lender. Now that's after you've worked with us, right, as a realtor. We then take that accepted purchase contract, right? The seller says, yeah, we agree to those numbers. We turn all of that over to the lender then at that point, and they make this thing go forward. We're going to get an appraisal, and our title partners are going to help us make sure that you obtain funding at closing and get that final clear to close. So to establish your budget, you're going to identify what your expenses are. So you have to know how much it costs you to live. Okay, so that's going to be important, okay, to know that. It's also going to be important to determine the amount that you can comfortably spend on a new home. Please don't find yourself in a position where you are house poor. The last thing we want as realtors is for you to kind of cuss us out in your head every time you walk through the front door. Because you can't ever leave that house because you bought a house that was right at the very tippy top of your budget. Okay? We want you to comfortably live in your home and have your home help you live the life of your dreams. And I guarantee you the life of your dreams is not only being able to stay in your house. Okay, you want to be able to leave and do things too. And you have to understand that you're going to have some money set aside to make simple changes to this house so it can go from being a house to being a home. So you're going to need some money for that too. Okay, and that's something that has to be factored in. Some homes, for instance, when we go to look at them, some of these houses, when we go to look at them, maybe they won't have a refrigerator that conveys with the property. Or maybe they need a new garage door, right? These are all really important things that you need to have on the house. And if you don't have the money by the time that you close, what are you going to do? Right? All right, so you will apply for a loan and get pre-approved. And David, do you want to come up here and talk to them about the pre-approval and pre-qualifications and all of that good business and get started here? Sure. There you go.
Thank you, Bess. Actually, right before I get into that little part.
Here, I'm going to give you this to our live stream partners. Can you hear us? There you go.
Actually, good one. Okay, so what I'm handing out here, and it's not on the slides, but I want to run back real quick just on the 10 myths, and I'll kind of streamline through this a little bit, but you know, these are things that people think have to happen for you to buy a home, or reasons why you can't buy a home. And basically, these are wrong. So the first one, basically says buyers need 20% down, which is not correct. As she was saying, we can go from 0% to 3.5 to 5, or whatever amount you want. So, there's a lot of different loans that do different things. And that's where I come in, or your lender comes in to help you determine what's gonna be the best fit for you. Low credit means no home. Again, she mentioned that. And, you know, we can get down pretty low on some credit, depending on what you're looking for. And if it's actually too low, then we can kind of help you work and figure out what do we need to do to get you where you need to be, and try to set up a little timetable and get you there. And then once you get the credit where you want it, then we'll go ahead and proceed on with the home. A lot of people say self-employed buyers, it's hard to qualify. Not really. I mean, there's a lot of different loans out there available for self-employed people. And you know, it's sometimes it's not the conventional ones you're looking at. It could be one where we do like bank statement loans or 1099 loans. So there are loans available out there for someone if you're self-employed, and we can move right along with that. Student loans kill deals? No. As she mentioned, you have to factor in the student loans, but there are ways to, you know, sometimes somebody has such a huge payment, you can go back and get that refigured with the educational board or whatever, and they'll actually rework your loan amount a lot of times to your income, and that makes it more affordable to where we can actually do a loan. Pre-qual, pre-approvals. Biggest difference on the pre-qual and pre-approval. Pre-qual is pretty much we're pulling a soft credit pull or a 4 hard credit pull. And difference between those is a soft doesn't actually hit the meat and potatoes of it for sure. It just gives us a good estimate of what we're looking at. You know, we look at that on a pre-qual, and we do the soft credit pulls. You're putting your information on an application of how much you make and where you've worked and all, and from all of that, we're making a determination that, hey, looks like we're in good shape. Where pre-approval is, you're going to be providing all your documentation to back up everything you told us. That this is what you make, this is where you live, this is what you do. So all that's, you know, then we can actually do a pre-approval. That gets you financially set to cover a certain amount, to cover whatever amount of loan that you want to look to do. That's. Seller credits are allowed. There are seller credits, so sellers, especially right now in this market, seller credits are pretty much out there because houses are a little bit slower moving. So you can actually sometimes get good seller credit where they're helping out with closing costs. Okay, so that helps you. Well, all you got to worry about is down payment. And that's where your realtor comes in. They're going to be taking care of that, helping you out. And I will say also, just so people know, you know, there's a lot of people say, I'm going to buy, but I want to wait until the rates go down farther than where they are. But right now, the rates aren't too bad. I mean, they've actually come down quite a bit, but they're not down probably where some people are thinking, like in the 5s or something. I understand right now there's some nice homes out there available that are kind of sitting. And you can kind of cherry pick through them and find a nice home. But when the rates drop, this kind of turns into a feeding frenzy. And you're gonna have everybody out there trying to buy a home, and the home you look at then is gonna go pending or whatever. So if you really want a nice home right now, now's the time to buy, in a sense. And down the road you can refinance, but you found the home you want. So it's not, sometimes it's really a good time, you know, if someone's really wanting to find a nice home, even though the rates are a little higher, there's positives to that. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah. Fixer uppers can't be financed. Yes, we can. We can finance those. We have the 203K loans, for primary or, and, first time home buyers. But it's. That's something we've just talked about, because a lot of times if first time home buyer. You want to make sure you're not getting into something that is, can be more than what you want to handle right now to begin with. And we got bonus overtime commissions, income doesn't count, yes, it can count, depending on your time with the company. But then sometimes there's type of loans where you don't want it to count, because you're trying to get into an income bracket to get a nicer type of, first time home buyer loan. And let's see what we're good. Can't own other properties. There are some people, you can actually have an investment property, as long as you haven't had a primary home within 3 years, there's a lot of these loans you can still do. And if one lender, if you talk to somebody and they said, I'm sorry, you just can't do a loan. Double check, because there's a lot of loans that, I can do, and that, I've had people come to me and they said, we can't get a loan through this, with lender. And I was able to find a loan for them, okay? Because there's other options out there. Some places don't have all the options other places do. Okay, so, don't give up. Okay, so real quick. I already just went through that, the difference between the pre-qual and pre-approval. So, the biggest difference is, the document review for the most part. And pre-qual is again a little bit more rougher estimate. Pre-approval is getting more defined. Okay. And mortgage options, that's a good question right there. Is it, are you looking for the low monthly payment? Or the smallest down payment that you can get? And you want to try to do some kind of equity buildup, which probably is not going to come into play as much. And what's the minimal risk? That's where we just sit down and go over what are your goals and what can work. And it doesn't take long to do that. And then of course you're going to submit a purchase contract to me or to your lender, and this is going to line out all the terms, conditions, everything about the sale. The realtor's going to have everything set up correctly, and for the most part, hopefully have some closing costs worked up from the seller in there. But if not, we'll look at that, because we also have, I don't think, I'm gonna go ahead and cover it now. You have down pay assistance that can be available. So that's something that, can get you to where you're still zero down or whatever, but the down pay assistance also usually covers, if you have extra, whatever's left over can help with closing costs. Okay, so, there's ways to work through stuff, and that's what we try to do.
All right. Do you guys have any questions for David? About this? That was a lot of information. Questions?
It's quick and fast.
That was a lot of information all at once. Okay.
All right.
Well, and next we're gonna have Tristan come up and talk to you guys. Oh, yeah. Tristan's with Viridian Title, and he's gonna talk to you about his step in the purchase process. So as a title representative, the title company does a lot of different things. But one of the most important is something called title insurance. So, and coordinating the closing process for you. So he's gonna do a step-by-step for you on what title looks like.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any slides for you, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay, I don't have any slides.
That's perfect. Makes me easy.
Okay. Hi, everybody, I'm Tristan, if we haven't met, so I work in title, my office is right around the corner, I close most of my deals here in the office. And today we're gonna go a little bit over what the title process looks like, and then in the back, I've got a couple of reasons why title insurance is important. And then last page, just some frequently asked questions about title. This is probably like a terrible comparison, but when I talk about title, I always say it's kind of like a really great third wheel. Because when you as a client are working with an agent, we're usually there in the background, taking in that info, trying to organize it. Same thing with the lender. When you're working with the lender, we're keeping up with that balancing. So we're kind of like a middleman to all parties. And you'll actually see that here in the process. Our job is just organization of funds, dates, balancing. So what the timeline kind of looks like here is, as soon as you go under contract, the buyer actually has the option to select the title. Now, if you're coming from out of state or it's just been a while since you moved, you may not remember who you have, or you may not know any of the local ones. So at that point, we can defer to the lender or the agent, right? But from there, when I get the contract, I'm just setting everything up to make sure we're good for a close date, looking to verify the earnest monies and whatnot are received. And then that's when we open the order. Actually, thing to talk through what that is. You go to the last page that says, what is a title search? That's kind of what we start doing immediately. So the title search is we're scrubbing PVAs, we're scrubbing all these different sources, but really what we're looking for are any outstanding debts, liens, anything weird that would be attached to the title, because if you buy a house and the corresponding title with it, you buy anything attached to the title. So our job is literally to clear the title. We're looking to see, can we get rid of all the bad stuff so that when you have everything's in good standing, you're not inheriting any of that. We go through, we're getting commitments, we're usually working with people like Dave, the lenders, for the majority of it. Sometimes collecting docs, or if you have, LLCs, things like that, we're organizing that. And then getting a lot of paperwork and disclosures out a couple days in advance to closing. And then the big thing that I do is coordinate the closing. We get all the paperwork signed, and then the back end, I file all that away. Sounds relatively simple, but most of it happens in the back. We'll jump to the second page here, because again, title insurance is a big thing. It's super important because a lot of the insurance you buy is protecting you from future things that happen, where title is going to protect you from past and future. So second page talks about why you need it. Again, I could give you a lot of horror stories about it. There's a ton. The big one actually is where's that? It's the one about errors and things.
Number 10.
Was
Yeah.
it 10? Perfect, yeah. This is one you don't see it often, but when you do, it's kind of crippling, to be honest. But you buy it and you find out that somebody else inherited it somewhere else. And so if you don't have title insurance, you just kind of lose rights to your home. As bad as that sounds. So again, title insurance protects you from anything in the future, but anything in the past, whether it's just paperwork wasn't done right, it was done, there's forged, there's liens on it. I mean, there's a ton of different things, right? And then how am I covered? You're covered for as long as you own the home, right? As long as you own the home, so there's not like renewals or anything like that. I think that's the gist of it, right? Does anybody have any questions about title? Questions I can answer?
No, I don't think
Yeah,
so.
I know I've closed a couple here. I think, yeah, Brittany, I just closed one with her. Anything else you want to hit off? Yeah.
No, I think that was pretty much the extent of it. I think it's important for people who are in their beginning stages of the purchase process, though, to understand that they, as the buyer, have the power to pick that title company. Right? So as they're picking the title company, you may not think that it is important, but guys, it is really important, because like you said, they're making sure that there is nothing standing in the way of you getting to own that home. Okay, they're doing all of that background research. They're looking for the bad stuff that might be there. They're clearing what we call those clouds on the title to make sure that you own this home outright and you can move forward without being held responsible to someone else's debt. Because no one wants that. So your title partners are really important as well, because they are keeping track of the sale and making sure that all the things are adding up as we're going along. Okay, so if you do not have a good, strong title partner, please understand that it's important. It's really imperative as a buyer that you make sure that you have great communication with those folks. All right. So you will get an appraisal as well as title. An appraisal is another thing that you need to make sure that you do have money up front for. So don't forget that, right? We talk about how much money does it cost to get started purchasing a home. Well, there's some monies that you have to pay out of pocket. Now, will they get credited back at closing? Yeah, sure will. but doesn't mean it doesn't come out of your pocket up front, right? So appraisal is one of those things, all right? And you will be required by lenders to have an appraisal on the home to make sure that the loan amount that you can borrow and the price of the home, the actual value of the home match up. Okay, the lender wants to make sure that they're not getting in trouble in terms of lending you more than what the home is valued at or vice versa. Okay. So at closing, we're gonna have what's called a clear to close. Now understand that your clear to close could happen at least 48 hours before you get to an actual closing table. So there's gonna be, throughout this process, you're gonna be getting lots of phone calls from lots of different people. But hopefully it's gonna be your realtor that is gonna call you and say, hey, we got our clear to close, we are good to go. Now, understand that that doesn't mean we're running to a closing table right then in that minute and you're buying a house. What that does mean though, is that you have the ability in the next 48 hours to really screw this up. You do, you have it in your power to mess it all up. So do not go out and make any large purchases. Don't hear that you got that clear to close and go out and buy that refrigerator. Now is not the time to do that, okay? Make sure that we make no large purchases and all of your financial stuff stays in place until you actually put your wet signature on paper. And there are keys in your happy little hand. And when that happens, then the house is yours, then you can go buy the refrigerator. Okay, I've had people say to me, yeah, but I want to have a refrigerator the day the house closes, so I've got to order it ahead of time. So I'm just gonna go and buy it ahead of time. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Okay, that is a really good way to not get your house. All right, especially if you're doing things with credit. Okay. All right, we are going to obtain funding at closing. This is the part where the lender does final approval for the loan, where this is when we're sitting at the closing table. That is when the final approval happens. Okay, so we got the clear to close. We understand there's going to be another final approval sitting at the closing table. Okay, and once everything gets the go ahead and the papers are signed and the loan becomes officially yours, you get the note. Okay. And you'll sign that note saying you owe X amount of dollars, and they're gonna go through the amortization of your loan. And they're gonna show you how much it's gonna cost you to buy this house over the next 30 years, and it is gonna look big and scary. Okay, it's like 2 pages worth of numbers. All right, and here's what I want you to remember. That first and foremost, very rarely does anyone stay in a home for 30 years. It's a very rare thing that happens, that because they're going to be like, well, 30 years from now on this date, and they're going to give you the year, and you're going to feel like you're going to throw up because that year is so far away. Okay, understand you're probably not going to stay in that house for 30 years. That's not how it works anymore. The average homeowner owns a home for really between 5 and 7 years now. That number used to be 7 to 10, but it's actually changed. We're more likely to buy and sell and transact now. And there's a reason for that. The reason for that is the process has simply gotten easier. It's easier to do. It's less scary. You have more professionals to help you. All right. Years and years ago, it was very difficult to purchase a home because we didn't have things like the internet for you to be out looking for houses. So once again, understanding mortgages, you've got lots of decisions to make, and the biggest decision I want you to know is having a really great relationship with your lender partner is the most important piece. Okay, you're going to have to be real honest with them. You're going to have to get real with them. Okay? There will be times that you have debt you're not proud of, or things that happened in your past you don't love. So whether that's a bankruptcy, or you went through a divorce and you lost money, or you have wages that are being garnished for child support, or whatever that might be, you have to be real honest with your lender. Because the last thing you want to do is get into this process and have it not come out until we get to that final approval at a closing table. Okay. And when I was talking to you about the amortization of your loan, understand that these are all the different pieces that go into that monthly payment. Okay, so you're going to be able to see on that sheet how much you're paying in and understand your monthly payment includes principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Okay? So when you're looking at it, you're gonna go, okay, well, my loan says it's gonna cost me $2,500 a month to own this house. Understand that that may not be your monthly payment, that may be the principal. Okay, because we may not be adding in the interest, the taxes, and the insurance yet. And understand that that monthly payment could change if the taxes change or your insurance rate changes. Okay, is it gonna fluctuate huge? Probably not. Okay, but there are factors that play into that. You know, maybe all of a sudden FEMA comes along and decides that you now live in a floodplain. And if that's the case, and now you have to carry flood insurance, that monthly payment is going to change based on your insurance rates. Okay, once again, another reason why it's really important that you work with professionals that you feel really comfortable having great conversations with. Okay. All right, so once again, based on your pre-approval amount and depending on the loan, your down payments can vary anywhere from 3% to 20%, and I'm gonna go one step further and say you can put 0% down. So if you've got no money in your pocket, depending on where you want to buy, you could get a loan with 0% down. With that being said, those loans that with 0% down typically carry a lot more fees to get to the closing table. There's other fees built in. So know that as well. Okay. So where are you going to get these funds from? Now understand you can get gifts from your parents or your in-laws, that you're allowed to do that. Okay, so if you're sitting here going, oh my goodness, this is a lot of money, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. Please understand, you can borrow some money, okay? You can have money that's coming out of your savings. And in some cases, if you already have a 401k, you can even pull from that as a down payment for a new house. Okay? So the way you maintain your pre-approval, like I just said, no big purchases, please don't get crazy on me. I only say this because I've actually seen this happen, and it is absolutely a horrifying thing when you were sitting at a closing table with someone who has just spent thousands of dollars on brand new furniture for a brand new house, and now they no longer qualify for the house. So they have no place to put that brand new furniture they just went and bought. Okay? No new credits, right? So that's like opening those lines of credit to make those purchases like that furniture. And also no job changes. Please don't decide to quit your job like 3 weeks before closing. You giggle. This wouldn't be in here if this has not happened to me. Have I seen this happen? Yes. Is that horrifying? Also, yes. Okay. So make sure you're protecting your down payment and you're not touching those funds that are in your account. Okay. So if you've worked with a really great lender and that lender is fine, just know that you're gonna need, let's just use a round number of $20,000 as a down payment. Okay, you're gonna need $20,000 for a down payment, and you've got that $20,000 in your account. Please do not go and loan your brother 10 grand 3 days before closing. Please don't do that. Okay. So when you're working with your realtor, like I said, we're gonna help you identify criteria to find the right house. And here's just a few of the questions that you're gonna have to ask yourself when identifying criteria for the right home. What do I want my home to be close to? So I want you to think about things like recreational facilities that you use, if there are restaurants that you like to frequent, grocery stores you like to go to. Is it important to you that between where you work and home, there's a place that you can drive through a drive-through restaurant and get dinner on the way home? Yeah, right? Quality of life is important. So I want you to keep those things in mind. What kind of property should I buy? Should it be a single family residence? Should I be looking at condos, townhomes? Okay. Think of those kinds of things and how you want to live your life. Would I be interested in a new construction home? Okay. A lot of times we forget that that's even an option for us in the purchase process. So please know that new construction, particularly in Fayette County, we've got a lot of it. Okay, so if that's something that you're interested in, we're happy to show you that too. But once you've signed an agreement with your realtor, please don't just go to that new construction property by yourself. Take your realtor with you. We're there to advocate for you. Okay. All right. At the buyer consultation, we're going to determine what houses you want to see. We're going to check out the homes that match your criteria. And we're going to help you kind of create a rating system. Okay? About what you like, what you don't like. Don't be surprised if your realtor says to you on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you want to run out of here screaming, and 10 meaning you want to place an offer right now. What number would you put on this house? Okay. And I've had people go, it's a 1 and I'd like to run out of here screaming. Okay, and that's fine. But this is how we know if we need to change what we're showing you. Okay? And we're also going to help you decide to make an offer. Because you may go, I don't know, I really like this house, but I'm not quite sure yet. We're going to help you understand factors that will help you decide whether or not making an offer makes sense right now. If you want to get started, your realtor has an app. Okay? So the best thing you can do for yourself is look at your phone, find the Zillow app, and delete it. You're giggling because you know I'm right. Okay? Absolutely. Please delete Zillow. Please don't use it. The reason I tell you that is Zillow is what's called a third-party syndicated app. The syndication means essentially the information that you're getting is a copy of the information that your realtor has in the MLS. It is then copied and then syndicated out to this third party. Whereas your realtor's app through KW, this is a direct, what we call IDX feed, directly from the MLS. This is the most accurate and up-to-date data. And the other thing about Zillow is really anyone can add things to Zillow. Okay, meaning that if you want to sell a home for sale by owner or whatever, you can put your information out there and they are then not really held to that code of ethics when that information is put out there the same way that realtors are. This isn't going to have that nonsense on there. Now, is your realtor going to help you find for sale buyers? If that's what you're looking for, sure. We'll go and we'll knock on doors for you. We'll find people who might want to sell a house in a neighborhood if you've got your heart set on living there. And understand that we want to make sure you get the best information while you are getting excited about purchasing houses. So this is what the app looks like in your app stores. You can find it in your Google Play Store. You can find it in your Apple App Store. Go ahead, download it. Or your realtor can share their app directly to you and it'll be connected to their information on the back end. Okay. So who has been looking at houses? Have you been looking at houses? And a little worried about it? Okay. All right, so what you see. Your job is to see how the home stacks up to your wants and needs. So the questions you answer are, does it have the right space, layout for my lifestyle? Does it offer value to me? Right? I want you to say, does it make my life easier to live here? Right? That's a darn good question to ask. Is the location convenient to my job or my kids' school? And does it have the features and amenities that I like? What your agent knows. So your agent's job is to know how the home stacks up to its competition. Once again, this is about understanding the market. So the questions your agent answers are, does the size and layout compare well to the others around it? Because once again, they're protecting your equity in your home and your resale values. Does it offer value in relation to the other homes around it? Right? Is it the yuckiest house in a good neighborhood? And does that work for you? Right? Will the location hold its value? Your realtor will know if that big empty lot behind the house is gonna become a Walmart or not. Okay? And does it show signs of major maintenance or structural concerns? Let's say your realtor's not an inspector. They're not, okay? We're gonna encourage you strongly to get a really great inspection done of the property, and yet we've seen some things. We know. What? So maybe you're considering whether you want to get a single family home or a condo or a townhouse. And maybe you don't understand what the financial implications are of going to a condo or a townhouse. Well, here's a breakdown of these. So there are some pros to doing what we call multifamily housing, right? So there's a lower cost per square foot to live there. There is no yard work or home maintenance, and the amenities such as swimming pools and playgrounds and this kind of stuff is great. They're gonna shovel your driveway for you, probably. Right? They're gonna shovel your sidewalk in a lot of cases, right? And that's great. And you've got a really nice community, right? There's always something nice about this insecure about knowing there are people around you. Some of the cons though are you do have shared ownership of spaces in a lot of cases. Okay? And the ownership of space is really just what's inside the building. That's what you own, is what's inside the walls. Okay, in a lot of cases, you're not owning the outside of that building. You will have homeowner association fees and maintenance fees that are in addition to your monthly payment. So that's in addition to that PITI that we talked about before. Okay, then you would have an HOA fee, and in some cases, the maintenance fee as well. All of those, in a lot of cases, will be due monthly. Sometimes those fees are on different schedules though, and they're due yearly, or maybe they're due quarterly. So you gotta kind of keep track of all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We talked condo, that's right.
condos and townhouses.
The pros and cons, differences between the two.
Yeah. So they will be managed by a board of directors in a lot of cases, so those condos will, condos and co-ops and that kind of stuff will have a board of directors. So just know, that there might be a Karen that lives in your neighborhood that tells you what to do. And you might not like that, alright? I'll tell you, when I first moved into my neighborhood, I loved the idea that I had in the homeowners association until I hadn't actually moved in yet. And I got a knock on my front door, and there was a lady that was standing there, and she's like, "Can I speak with you for a moment?" I was like, "Oh, this is starting great. Here we go." Now, was her heart in the right place? Sure. Could she have approached it differently? Also, yes. So just understand that if you don't want to have those conversations with folks, maybe living in a place that has a homeowners association, or that you have shared ownership of spaces, that may not be the right living situation for you. Okay, you will have governed rules, things like pets, vehicles, noise. And for instance, in my neighborhood, I live in a single family home, but I have a homeowners association. So I can't park a commercial vehicle in my driveway. So if I own the car, I own the house, I can't put my realtor magnet on the side of my car while it's parked in my own driveway. I know, you're like, what? I can see that look on your face. Yeah, you're like, how dare they say that? But I signed a covenant when I sat down at the closing table with my title representative, and I signed that paperwork. I signed saying I understood that, and I'm gonna live up to that. So I'm not gonna go and get my car wrapped with my realtor business on it. Instead, I'm gonna have a magnet on it so I can pull that baby off and throw it in my garage. Okay? Like I said, new construction is an option. There are pros and cons to it. You know, sometimes there are financial implications with getting a new construction home, meaning that it can be a little more expensive upfront, but there are some definite pros to that by spending that little extra money. You'll find things like warranties, and you're gonna get to pick out different features that you really, really love. But you may find that new construction is in maybe more of those outlying areas, not in the more suburban or urban areas that you're looking for. Okay, just note that. When we make an offer on a house, we're gonna take into consideration the price, the terms, and the contingencies on the property. So your realtor is going to help you determine your offer price. And we're gonna make sure it reflects what makes sense for the current market in the neighborhood you're looking at. Then we're gonna look at the basic categories that address timing and financial considerations. Okay, so we're gonna say, how long do we want that inspection period to be? Right? We're gonna put that in an offer. Do we wanna ask the sellers for closing costs? We're gonna put that in an offer. Okay, all of those things will be put in the terms of that offer that's placed. And then, we're gonna look at the conditions or the contingencies on the offer as well. So that may mean that you have another home to sell before you're purchasing this one, or it may mean that you have other reasons that you would need to opt out of this. And those would all be placed on that initial offer. And understand that people can then counter that offer and go, none of that works for me. Okay, so you may get a counter offer that's not necessarily on the price, but instead on those terms and conditions. Step 7, performing your due diligence. Once again, this is an option period. Okay, your due diligence is. All right, so it's an agreed upon number of days after the offer is agreed on all sides. Okay, so we place the offer, the seller says, yes, I agree to that. And from the moment they sign it and they agree to it, the clock starts. Okay? This is when you'll get property inspections done. Have you been in construction your whole life? Maybe. Are you a property inspector? No, you are not. Okay? So I'm going to always recommend, regardless of your background, that you have somebody who is a professional property inspector get professional property inspections done. Okay? They know what to look for. Now, we may determine from that inspection report that there are repairs that need to be done. And that just means we're going to go into a renegotiation process. Okay? And remember, it's the big stuff that matters. You may not like the color of the carpet in the living room. That wood paneling in the back room might be the grossest thing you've ever seen in your whole life. Okay, but we're probably not going to renegotiate over things like that if we consider those cosmetic issues. Instead, we're going to look at things that are red flags that come back in that report. So things like cracks or crumbling in the front foundation, things like cracks inside the house over windows. Okay. But once again, your realtor is not an inspector, and your realtor is not going to pretend to be, right? We're going to go to that inspection report and we're going to make renegotiations based on that. Step 8, we're going to get to the closing table. So once again, your job pre-close is just keeping yourself mortgage worthy. Don't do dumb stuff. It's my best advice. I don't know how else to put it. All right. Budget for your additional expenses. Now, once again, here are the expenses that we're looking at in terms of additional expenses. Okay. So you're going to have your closing costs. Now that's the percent of the loan that maybe you need to put down on the property. And that's going to include lender and title fees, an appraisal, this kind of stuff those are what we refer to as prepays too. Okay. Your earnest money. And what we call option period money. So not going to happen during that renegotiation period. Maybe you need to bring money, maybe they need to bring money, whatever we came to an agreement on. All right, so also those inspections are there, right? I put that there mostly so you understand how much it may cost for an inspection to happen on your property. This is a big range, but does your house have a pool? Because that's more than one inspection then, right? Does your house have a septic tank? We're probably going to want to get that inspected too. Okay. Does your house have a well? You may want to have water testing done. Okay, all of those are additional expenses. Surveys on the property aren't always necessary, but in some cases they are. You're gonna wanna know where your property lines are if there's not an existing survey. Alright. You're gonna have some homeowners insurance that you're gonna need to pay up front, as well as keeping a reserves for improvements and repairs after the sale. Our next step is we're gonna do a final walkthrough of the home. But as the closing day approaches, your lender, agent, and title partner will do most of the work. So you're going to probably be sitting around twiddling your thumbs going, oh my gosh, is anyone, what's happening? Is anything for me? Well, believe me, we are like ducks in that we look like we've got it on here, but our feet are going real fast. Okay? We're making sure it all happens on the back end for you so you can focus on the important stuff, which is packing your house or packing where you currently live to get ready to move. Okay? So the ways you can help us though is by staying in control of your finances, returning all the phone calls and paperwork promptly to any professional that you're working with, communicating with your agent at least once a week. So please don't just go MIA on us. That's how we lose people. It's happened. Several days before closing, confirm with your agent that all of your documentation is in place and in order. We're going to be reaching out to you, and it doesn't hurt on your end to do that as well. You're going to need to obtain certified funds for closing, meaning you can't come in with an entire briefcase full of cash and go, here's my money, I'm ready to buy my house. Okay, so you will need to have certified funds for that. So sorry, no duffel bags of money. Right? And then we'll conduct your final walkthrough. In your final walkthrough, we're just looking to make sure that the home is in the same condition currently as it was when you first viewed the home. Okay? So, because sometimes it can be months between the time that you view the home and the time that you go to the closing table. When we go to close, you're going to bring those certified funds. You're going to bring evidence of your insurance that you've done your part by making sure that you've protected your investment. And you're going to bring valid identification. Okay. When we say valid identification, we do mean making sure your driver's license is not expired, making sure that it's up to date. Okay. And when you leave, you're going to get a settlement statement, a transfer of clean title, and in a lot of cases, the keys to your house. I say a lot of cases because that's not every case. Sometimes we've negotiated things like a post-occupancy. So the seller has said, hey, I'm going to rent this house. You own the house, but I'm going to rent this house from you for a few weeks so I can get out of here and leave it to you. And if that's the case, you may not, that may not all happen right then. Just know that. So you're going to want to move in and protect your investment by maintaining it and keeping an eye on things like leaks and damages and wear to the home. Keep a file of all your receipts and repairs, please. Because if you decide a year or so into this, you know what, owning this house was not right for me, and you want to sell your home, you should be able to tell a new buyer what you've done to it and show proof of what you've done to it. Okay? So make sure you hold on to all of those. It's important to also consider a home warranty. Now, a home warranty is a third-party warranty that you can purchase on your home for a set fee. And that warranty will often cover major system repairs on the property. So here's a prime example. I bought a house in May. Okay. Beginning of May, I purchased my home. By the second week in June, my air conditioner died. It was a $10,000 repair. I had just bought a brand new house. Luckily, I had a home warranty on it that I had negotiated into the sale. The seller paid for my home warranty because I negotiated that in. And now that home warranty covered a good portion of that cost, and I didn't have to pay it all out of pocket. Okay? So if you're concerned about having the money in pocket in case anything happens long-term to your home, this really is a really great investment in a home warranty. And once again, your realtor's gonna help you determine if that's the right choice for you. You will enjoy service for a lifetime. So like I said, you're not getting rid of us that quick. Okay, so your realtor's gonna follow up with you periodically, simply asking questions about your home, about your living experience. And if you're interested in getting more information on how much equity you've earned in your home, how much value you have in your home, and whether or not it's time for you to sell your home again. Okay. So we'll be continuously following up with you. We're gonna ask you lots of great questions, probably invite you to events. And we're also gonna probably ask you for referrals of your friends and family members who we can help to go through the same process. All right, you guys, do you have any questions? Comments? Concerns? No? Yeah, what's up?
We'd like to buy this year,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't have a lender.
Mm-hmm.
Would you advise us to start looking first, or should we get our lender first and get our?
You need to get your lender first.
Sure.
We don't want to show you houses you can't afford. Okay, we are not in the business of breaking hearts. Okay, we're in the business of helping you buy the right property. So please, please, please don't go out looking at houses until you know what you can afford to have. You may find the perfect house, fall in love with it, and then we tell you you can't have it. And now you kind of get down on yourself about the process. We want to make sure that this process is fun for you. Believe it or not, it looks scary and it looks like a lot, but this can be a lot of fun. Okay, we want to keep it that way. So here's our commitment to you. We're going to educate you about the market. We're going to analyze your needs. We're going to steer you to homes that fit your criterion. We're going to coordinate the work of other professionals, negotiate on your behalf, double check your paperwork and any deadlines, and solve problems that arise. That is our commitment as realtors to you. And that should be any realtor's commitment to you, not just us. The difference between a KW realtor, though, and other realtors is we say it out loud and we actually follow up on all of it. All right. Like I said, if you haven't downloaded your agent's app, now would be a great time to do so. So your realtor can text you, can share their app directly to you, and then anything that you look at in their app will show up on your realtor's backend system that we have, so they know what you're looking at, so we can stay on top of exactly what it is that you want. Okay. There's a lot of search functionality, and Keller Williams is global, and our app works globally. So it's actually just a really fun tool. You go on vacation, you can pull out the KW app, and you can find information on homes anywhere you are. Okay. Well, that's it. That's all I have for today. Yeah.
Is the lender trying to be
It's like, I don't know. Ask David that. No? Okay. That's great. That is the answer to that. In front of you, you should have a raffle. We're giving away a book. This book is called Your First Home. It's by Gary Keller, who is one of the co-founders of our company, as well as the VP of Learning. So if you fill that out and enter to win, you might win one of these really great books. If you're interested. If you're not interested, that's okay too. All right. For those of you that are out there in live stream land, I'm going to stop the live stream. But if you have additional questions, I'm going to encourage you to reach out to your realtor, ask those questions that you may have had throughout this process, and they're going to answer any questions for you. Understand that this live stream will stay recorded on our YouTube, and you're welcome to come back and reference it at any time. Okay, so thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.